Hello, everybody. Welcome to this evening. We are speaking on the George Floyd verdict that happened yesterday. Somebody has to turn their phone off.
He has to mute.
I think we're getting feedback from the phone.
And tonight we're just going to be discussing everything that's happening and what happened yesterday and how do we feel about it, because this is a situation that has been pending for years, and not just for this one situation, but for several situations that has happened within the last 10 to 15 years. So is it justice? Is it not justice? How do we feel about it? And we're going to take it from there. So I want to introduce the panel. Everybody, please take 5 minutes and introduce yourself. Please, starting with Sophia Davis.
Okay, there we go. My name is Sophia Davis. I am editor-in-chief of Fashion Avenues magazine, as well as CEO of Fan Media TV. We publish 12 publications, and I've been in the fashion industry for more than 20 years.
And we have Harry Green. You want to introduce yourself, please?
He's muted.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Harry Jackson, actually, not Green. I am the controller for 6.5 years now at Rain Home Attendant Services, and that's an organization that pay particular attention to providing assistance to the social determination of health in terms of persons who are unable to take care of their daily activity of living, persons who are marginalized and would not get certain care and certain advice and certain treatment, especially in their retired years. So I actually, before that, spent roughly about 10 years working with persons in the inner city back home in the Caribbean, providing a channel whereby they could excel in sports and do very well. That's it.
Thank you. Wendell?
Hello, how y'all guys doing? My name is Ross. I'm the chief editor and publisher of Beauty and Barber magazine. I've been in the industry for 12 years, a fashion producer as well, and I'm glad to be here tonight with you guys.
And we have the one and only Henry Marsham. Please introduce yourself. Henry? Henry, can you introduce yourself, please? Okay. So yesterday, April 20th, Chauvin was found guilty in killing George Floyd and was remanded into custody. He will face 30 years in prison and is likely to be prosecuted with and ask for more. Sentencing will happen in 8 weeks. Guilty, guilty, guilty. The jury determined he was guilty on all 3 charges. Viewers, listeners, we do not often see this happen. And this kind of verdict is something new to us. This kind of justice. So what do the people have to say? How do you guys feel about it?
Do you want to direct to any one person or?
Anybody could jump in and start speaking.
Well,
Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
I'm sorry, Wendell.
No, go.
I just would like to say that one of the things I think that is important is understanding where racism comes from, or any type of feeling against another person comes from the beginning. And I think that if people understand where it comes from, whether it's justice, people saying it's justice, but people have to understand it's not going to change someone's mind overnight how they feel about someone. This is, a step in the right direction, because it's very rare that you get a verdict like this. Very, very rare. I think it's only been 2 or 3 verdicts like this before, and I think one was a while back. So you don't get these kind of things happening. But I do think that the reason from the beginning is understanding the foundation of all of the reason why he felt he could lean on George Floyd's neck from the beginning is important to understand. So yes, it is a little justice, but we still have a long way to go.
I totally agree with you. Harry, do you want to make any comments on that one?
Yes, I agree on the fact that it's justice is served. However, the bigger question here is what next? Because even with the announcement of the guilty verdict in all different areas, you did find that there were reported incidents where a black woman was actually shot because she had a knife, and that was the reason she was threatening, and the officer felt that his life was in danger. So it's not going to change, as Sophia mentioned. What we have to look at is, how do we move here? What can we do in terms of ensuring that there's a process of change, little by little, until we have what you call equality, rather than just a moment where there is a verdict in favor and we are all happy about it. However, to me, that's just like you're on a threshold. Nothing has really happened in terms of the whole thing of the change process of person's mind, in terms of how you deal with minority, not just Black, but minority. One of my observation is that the whole matter of how you treat, or the police actually treat minority, is an institutionalized thing. It's already there and embedded in their mind, and therefore, once that is there, it takes a change process. And the first step here is that they have to recognize that the consequences of this is going to be guilty verdict for them, and they probably will be behind bars for years to come. So we have to see much more of this in incidents similar to this.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Wendell, do you have anything that you wanted to add on? Makita, welcome. Do you want to add anything to the question? Is this justice? And you...
Yes. I said this is a process that's going to be...
Wendell?
I think he's in trouble with his Wi-Fi.
Okay, Makita, do you want to add anything? Is this justice that we saw yesterday?
Hi, and thank you for having me on. I feel like it is justice, but I feel like it is more to come. I feel like it's more to come. It's more to come, and it's just the beginning. It's been going on for too long. We've seen many incidents like this, in many incidents, they haven't been charged. So I feel like it is justice. I was happy with what took place yesterday, but I feel like it's just the beginning. It is just the beginning.
Okay. So many people across the globe has been awaiting for this verdict, and it's described as George Floyd's brother, a day of celebration. Let's get some real talk on that. Are people celebrating? Because this evening when I looked at the news, I didn't hear anything else about the situation. So in less than 24 hours, it's not a top story.
It's not because, sorry to cut you off. It's like we celebrating, but we still not, because at the end of the day, it's still happening. Just looked at the news and a little girl was shot 4 times. And at the end of the day, yeah, that's what you guys were taught, but not to shoot 4 times. And so it's like we rejoicing, but not really, because it's still happening.
Okay.
It's still happening.
Sophia?
She's muted. You're muted.
Okay, now I finally have it. One of the things I wanted to explain, and this is going to take a few minutes, so if you could bear with me. I don't know, is that my feedback or, okay. If you could bear with me just a few minutes on this, so I can kind of explain why these things are still going on. One of the things that people have to understand is that this is something that happened way back when. It is a trained, reaction. If you read, and you can Google this, it's free, it's online, Willie Lynch. It's called the Willie Lynch Papers. Just read the papers. You don't have to read the whole book. Read the Willie Lynch Papers. This is something that should be taught in schools. And what it is, the entitlement of it is how to make a slave. And it explains everything to what we're doing right now, up to this minute, of what is actually happening. Now, you can go right on Google and say the Willie Lynch paper, and it'll pop right up. Whilst we're on the line, you can do this and you can understand. Now, this he put in effect in the 1700s, and that effect is still affecting us now. Because if you read it, you will understand. Not just that. I mean, I can go into a lot of things, but let me just go to some key points. One of the things is a lot of people say, well, equal opportunity, why aren't Black people doing this? Or, and I'm just saying Black people because that's actually what we're talking about. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? You have to understand there was a time, even though it wasn't my time, that you could not have natural hair and work in an office. They would not hire you. So you couldn't even be yourself. And I mean, the way your hair is naturally, you had to go and buy a wig. This is why women wear wigs and weaves today, and they don't even know that that's the reason. They think it's the style. It's not the style. The mothers would put the wigs on the daughters to send them so they could get a job. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and just the fact that they're killing us. Now, another reason why they're doing this is because all of the time they have done it, they've gotten away with it. If you look at the Black Panthers, they infiltrated the Black Panthers. All the Black Panthers were doing, if you really understand the Panthers, was starting a breakfast program for inner city kids. That's all they were doing. But they said, oh, they're militant, they're this, look at their hair, power to the people. What the saying is all power to the people. All that means is the people have the power to make a change. It's not a militant statement, but in the way that they put it out to the press, it makes us look like savages, like we're going around with guns ready to kill everybody and do these things. So they blindsided the Black Panthers. They destroyed that and made people feel like these were the bad people. Coming up, as things progressed in the 60s and stuff, they could no longer take us and lynch us on trees. So that wasn't going to work anymore. So what Governor Wallace told the people that, follow him is the new way of lynching is plant drugs on them, put drugs on them, give them drugs. We don't bring drugs in this country. Get them, put liquor in the neighborhoods. They did a thing, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but I have to explain this. They did a thing called the projects, and I don't know if anybody's familiar. This is why we have projects today. They did something, the government did an experiment called the project, where they would give the woman a house, a place to live with her children, but she could not have a man there. It was the projects. Why? Because if you can remove the man from the house, you can control the children and the mother. Because now she can't have the man there because she needs the apartment for the kids. So it's a lot of things that go into, why people are racist or feel a certain way about a different culture. And it's not just something that happened yesterday. This is something, I'm sorry about the noise, but I live in New York City. This is something that has been coming for years. And if you read the Willie Lynch paper, you will understand why we are at the place that we are today. But like Sam Cooke said, a change is coming.
Wendell, what do you have to say? Wendell?
Yes, Mrs. Davis is right on point with the Willie Lynch. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yes, she's on point with the Willie. Yes, with the Willie Lynch letter. That right there is very, 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 very significant in our culture today, because that was a 300-year-old plan that he put together, foolproof plan that he had put together on the plantations, and it still affects us today in our everyday struggle. In respects to the verdict, that is a beginning process, but we have to keep in mind that we are in a war in this United States with the society, because the minority is becoming the majority. And that process has been known ever since 1969, when the Kerner Commission of Files said that the 11 to 13% of Black population by the year of 2029, we will be in the majority of people here on the face of this earth. I mean, in the Western Hemisphere. So what you're seeing is a shifting of what we saw in the 60s with the Night Riders. They have turned in the white sheets, the blue uniforms. And what you see with the Bloodhounds, they have changed that to police dogs. And so all these things that we experienced in the early 50s and 60s, these guys are now in black robes. These guys are in blue uniforms. These are the guys that, as you see, when the Capitol got stormed, as all these people from corporate America that was actually identified as far as firemen, police officers, all from all over the United States. So you just keep in mind and be mindful. We need to be mindful that we are at war, and we have to change our way of thinking and come together as a unit, as a collective unit, as a people, to break those chains of Willie Lynch and those slavery psychosis and plantation ghosts.
Yeah, that's so true. When we think about it, this thing started from, our ancestors and our forefathers in the slavery area. So we're still kind of within that. What is justice looking like? Harry, any thoughts on that question?
I agree with what Sophia said, and I never read the article, but I know from other readings historically that this was all a plan. The change in the world population now, it is really how much longer and what will be done. So if you look at it, there's always these strategies put in place to prolong a supremacy. So it's not really a drive to get equality across all race. And I think that's where the bigger thing is. But if you go back to how the police treat colored and black as opposed to white here in the US, just to get a objective view, last night I listened to BBC World in terms of their coverage of the sentencing and so on. And there was a statement by the prime minister that he was so happy about the verdict because he was so appalled by what he see. And then there was a general statement that for years, the police in force in the United States have always treat black to be lesser. So it's a general worldwide knowledge that this thing has been happening. And we know it's a change process, it will take time. But and that is why I said, okay, yes, there's justice here. How do we move how do we move this to a next level? What do we have to do? Because a lot of this, it's institutionalized. So the earlier person, the general person would think that this is okay. This is what we need to do in policing, right? Which is so far from what it should be. I don't think that predominantly it would happen in certain neighborhoods. But the fact is, it is what it is now, and the push is to what do we do now in moving forward in a more progressive way in getting this equality and justice steps by step, because it's not going to be an overnight, as Sophia mentioned. It's a gradual process, but it shouldn't be a situation where it's just a one-off process and then nothing happens after that. All right. You did mention that you haven't heard a lot, it being still on the news a lot, but I think even more than that is what are the persons who can make these changes, the legislators, right? Those association which requires certain votes to change certain things and make sure that even with the way the policing is done, make sure that they move away from what their constitution is now, change that process. So there's a different way of treating persons in inner city or minors or black. I mean, I think that that is where we probably need to look at some focus. What are we going to do as individual? How is our effort going to be counted in trying to add to this change process, even if it's gradual? But we shouldn't be just celebrating this one event or this one success, so to speak. But we should be looking to ensure that no other instances of this where there is brutality done to a minor or to the blacks or to the colored is actually swept under the rug, so to speak. If there was no recording, just think about it. If there was no recording of this incident, where would it be today? We would not be having this session. And that's where it is. It has to be real evidence. It has to be a lot of exhibits, one, two, three, and um, I mean, kudos to the young lady who actually, I mean, the child who actually took this video. This morning I listened to a news report on ABC, and she was saying that she kept saying to the officer, get off him," right? Even in that regard, right? And then for 9 minutes and seconds, he was stopping the hair from going in. So this is how crucial this was. It's not even so much that he did it. The fact that there was a child who actually saw that lends itself to a different type of oh, you want it's that's almost like a child. It's almost some form of abuse to that child psychologically, because that child will need a lot of psychological treatment to get over that. I'm sure she goes to her bed at night, and that's the first thing that presents herself to her mind. So it's going to take a long time to get over that. So it's a number of things at play, but I think the main thing here is what progress and what can we do in ensuring that step by step we move the medal further to equality, because it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have much more of this.
And when we
And
think,
there are persons also, I think even you're going to find what you would call bad eggs within the force who feel that, oh, this should not change. The way policing is being done now, it should not change. And that's where you're going to have probably the biggest challenge. So it have to start from a case where the constitution, the persons who should vote against certain major change at that level. So if it means that we have to add our name to signature and we have to go to probably certain town hall meetings to have that, this is where it is. What are we going to do to make sure that there's the gradual change?
and I know I want to take
Yeah.
this back a little bit because I know the project that was, and I know Sophie, you could expand on this. The project started where they utilized us as it was a test to see how can we live, and these high-rise buildings which some of us live in, that's how it started. Sophie Davis, you want to expand on that for me, please?
Yes, I like to expand on the project thing because there's a lot of different things that they did. That the projects is just one, but the reason they did that is because they separated, as they did in slave time, the man from the household. So now you got kids running wild. You got latchkey kids. You got kids that's supposed to go home after school, but since the mother's not there because she's got to work, that they going wherever they want to go. So you got kids getting in trouble. You have nobody watching the children, and the father cannot be there because to get the apartment, you can't have a man in the house, even if he was your husband. And this is the way they did the plan because that is the way they can control the woman and the children because she's going to do whatever she has to do to protect her kids. So if that means working two jobs, she's working two jobs. So where are the kids? Who's watching the kids? So this is why you have a lot of this stuff that is coming out where you have, kids, what they say, kind of not at home or in the streets and hanging out in the front and doing these kind of things because it's no one to say, hey, come on, snatch you by the hair and drag you in the house. Your father's not saying, listen, when the street lights come on, you come upstairs. It's no one supervising them. So it's a way to test and control in the same way they did it in the 1700s, where they would take the strongest slave they had, gather around all the kids, the wives, the pregnant people, and the other men. They would beat the slave to the point of death, but they would not kill him. Then they would let them stand there and watch as he just laid there and suffered. Now, if you're a mother, the last thing you want to see is that happen to your child. So, what are you going to do? You're going to raise your male children to be weak, weak in the sense of, oh, be careful, don't do that, don't do, just do what master say, this kind of thing. So that from there, and that was done in the 1700s, we still doing it today. Mothers are still doing kind of like similar stuff because this is their protecting, and they have to because you have the Willie Lynches, which are the cops, killing them at will, and they do it because they know nothing's going to happen to them. Oh, they shot this 16-year-old girl, as the gentleman said, because she had a knife. Okay, she had a knife, but you're gonna tell me you're a cop, you can't shoot in her hand or her leg to make her fall down and then take the knife from her? She is 16 years old. it's like what, 8 cops. It takes 8 cops to get a 16-year-old. Are you kidding me right now? See, I can't, because this is ridiculous. And the only way out, this is the only way out, is we have to take control. That means we have to be in a position of power. We have to stop being in the position where we looking for a stimulus check, or our hand is out all the time. Or we don't have a decent job where we could save some money. We got to go begging for money. We got to get in a position of power. The politicians, the way that works, and let me just break it down for you real quick. I don't mean to take too much time, but I got to say this part. Somebody said politicians and get into the politics and everything. When George Wallace of Georgia, the governor of Georgia, what he told the racist people to do and the Klan was to go into politics, because they're the ones who control what money goes into your community. So you have to understand, you're not in the position of power. And until you are in that position, this will never end until we go to school and be educated. Now, people could say, oh, well, what they teach in school, we don't need to know. You know what? Just like the Masons, okay? Just like the Masons do. You get that education, you come out, you train somebody, you grab that person by the hand and you pull them up, okay? When that person walk in your office for a job, you hire that person and you train that person. See, we have to start doing that pull up. We have to start going out here rescuing our people instead of standing back thinking, well, I got a Chanel bag, so I don't care, I don't care if she got to knock off, whatever it is. In other words, stop worrying about what you have and let's look at it as a whole. Remember Tulsa? They had it together, and what did they do? Burnt it down. Why? Because we were getting too powerful. We were starting to rely on ourselves. We were starting to have power, and that's what they don't want. Stop having bad credit. Stop not owning nothing. Stop not having money in the bank. At least some money. I'm not saying you got to have $100,000, but have something so you're not begging or the government all the time. Oh, where's my stimulus check? You should have something in the bank. You got a job. You need to put yourself in the position of power and stop being a position of someone having power over you. And this is where we need to go, because this is the only way out.
Thank you, Sophia Davis. So let's start looking at the charges that was taking place yesterday. So in the case of the prosecution, had to be convincing beyond a reasonable doubt on every count for Chavez face. Count 1, unintentional murder in the second degree. Count 2, third degree murder showing deprived mind. And count 3, unculpable negligence, which is manslaughter. Experts are saying it was Chavez's negligence that made him criminal culpable in Floyd's death. In other words, 9 minutes and 29 seconds, the length of time Chavez exercised force on George Floyd before his death made Chavez a criminal culpable. What do we have to say about this? I think first.
Well,
go ahead, Wendell.
Well, 9 minutes, whether it was 2 minutes or 3 minutes, was excessive force.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got to be mindful that those charges, the jury was a diverse pool of jurors. And so now they've done their job. And the interesting thing is what will the judge, what kind of sentence will he hand down after the prosecution gave a good argument and a good defense and whatnot, and the jury came out with the verdict. So that's going to be the interesting part of this whole thing. In this process is what will be the sentence that will be given down.
Yeah. Harry, you want to say anything on that?
Wendell is right. I think it's all left to see how the judge will interpret in his ruling. But I hasten to say that throughout the court, the witnesses, if you note there were fellow police officers who gave their account, and none of those officers agreed, right, with what happened there. So in such a case, I think that should have given more pointer or factor to the judge in terms of the ruling that he will make. So we can only wait to see what will happen. Another interesting thing that came up was that I think the Congresswoman Maxine Walter, she actually made a statement on the day before, and the judge mentioned that that could be grounds for appeal. Let's not forget that that was said just before the closing. And
Yes.
so we have to look at that to see exactly where that will go.
And that's so shocking, because it's like, okay, now what if there is a loophole? Where do we go from here? What if there's something that
Personally, I don't think what
Go ahead.
I don't think what she said was strong enough to actually give him a way out. I think, this is, I don't think no court of appeal will overturn it on just her statement alone, because I don't think.
I think you're having a little bit of trouble there. Anybody else want to talk on that? Sophia?
Well, first of all, I don't think that they're going to be able to turn it over totally, because he was convicted on all 3 counts. Not only that, but they're also, when they go to the sentencing in 8 weeks, they're going to bring in the traumatized kids and people that were there, the children that are traumatized for life because they witnessed this. And, even, at the end when he was calling for his mother, George Floyd was calling for his mother. So I think that I don't believe that they're going to be able to turn this over that easy. I just don't believe it. If they do, I would be shocked.
It's such a, we're so used to not having these type of verdicts. What do you guys think if we had the verdict of not guilty? What would happen? How would we be feeling right now?
Well, I think the crowds that were gathering was in that sort of mood where, you're looking for justice. You know exactly what had happened. You have witnessed it. You have seen the videos over and over. And therefore, it would be very appalling if there was verdict enough to say not guilty, not guilty. Not. I don't think that it would be accepted, and it could not be accepted. So there would be widespread protest about what has happened. And I think more than anything else, this would really raise a total different picture of how person would respond. It would let us to believe that the justice system actually failed us, right, as Black people, really, if that was to happen. So I think, thank God it's the way it is, but the evidence was overwhelming. There's nothing like having a video of exactly what happened, the testimony of your own officers, your fellow officers, the testimony of the expertise in terms of whether or not it was the drug that he was taking killed him, as opposed to the loss of oxygen to this man brain. So, yeah, it was so overwhelming. I don't think for a moment that they could have ruled, they could have agreed otherwise than guilty verdicts, but you never know.
Sophie, have anything to say on this?
Can I jump in? Or I'm not sure if someone else is there.
No,
Wendell, are you there?
No, actually, Yeah, ask if you want to jump in and say something on this.
Yes. Well, one of the things is, of course, I think it would have been a different, kind of place if, God forbid, that verdict was changed in any way. It wasn't the way it went. It definitely would have been some difference. So that is true. The thing is, the point is, even though, yeah, things would have happened, I'm sure they would have, it would have been still talking about it now. But the point is, we have to find a way to, so these things don't happen. We need real lawyers in the courtrooms that are fighting for us, like a Johnny Cochran, you know. So that means more people need to go to law school. Okay. We need doctors that are working with us. We need true people that are in the political system, not because they've been bought, but because they're here for the people. You know what I'm trying to say? Until you get that in, you're not going to have, whether if it's if the verdict had been, you wouldn't even have to worry about the verdict being different if you have the right people in there. Now, this team did a good job, don't get me wrong. They did an excellent job because they got the right verdict. My point is, we shouldn't have to hold our breath for this. That's my point.
Exactly.
We should not have to hold our breath praying that they do the right thing.
Yeah, that is definitely a factor. You know, there were actually two other guys in the, or two other people in the vehicle with George Floyd on that day. So how, and they're still alive. So like, how do we understand this? Like, why was he the only one that was, put on the side? Because there were two other people. So that's my question. Like, go ahead, Sophia.
Okay, I want to jump in on that because this is the underground story. Okay, I'm a press person, so I hear different stories. This is the deal. I'm going to break it down for you. The guy, Derek, the one that got convicted, knew George Floyd. He knew him because they both worked at this nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
The nightclub was laundering money. That's where he got the phony $20 bill. But he wasn't supposed to spend that because you can get caught, which is how and what happened. He got caught passing a phony 20. That's how all this started. Then Derek, the police officer who knew George, knew that, he couldn't let George live because he gonna tell him that they laundering money. See, this is the inside story people don't know. So now he had to sit on his neck and take the fall because whoever, I'm sure whoever's laundering the money is bigger than him, probably would have killed his whole family because George would have talked if he had lived. So he couldn't let him live. So see, this is the stuff, the backstory that people don't know, because what sensible person would kneel on someone's neck that long if they didn't intend to kill them? He had to silence the man because everything went back to that club where they were laundering the money.
Wendell, you wanted to jump in on that?
She is exactly correct. 100% correct. That is the underground story. Yes, indeed. They have a track record. They have a history together, and they did not get along when they was doing security at that particular venue. Yes, indeed.
Yes. When you think about it, this is such a sad moment, but it's still a enjoyable moment that we are going through right now. And I have Makita. Makita, you have two young sons. What is it that you're telling them about this situation? Because I don't even know if we can explain this to kids under 10. How can we explain this? Makita, what are you doing to educate your sons?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna give you a little personal story, and it's not even much that I can tell my kids when they see the lot. And we are from New York too, so situations occur. Sometimes situations are out of your hand and out of your control. And About 5 years ago, me and my kids were at a friend's house, what I thought was a friend, and the house got raided. And they came in and guns was pointed at my kid's head. Until this day, every time my kids see the cop, nobody can tell me anything about childhood trauma. It affects them. It affects them. And yes, I did everything in my willpower. I sued them. I got compensated, but no money can amount to what my kids still face up to this day. They don't even want to hear about George Floyd's situation because they witness it personally, and it's sad because I feel like cops do need to get trained, and like Miss Sophia did say, more people like me need to get into the field. My little brother is 18. He's graduating from high school this year. And college, when I was 18, college was the last thing on my mind because I seen my mother work in retail and I knew that a college degree wasn't something that was needed to be a manager. So I was like, oh, whatever with college. But now I tell my little brother, you have to go to college. We're either going to be a lawyer, we're going to be a doctor, we're going to be a cop, you're going to be a mayor. Like you have to be you have to do something that's going to be a change. Like you're going to be a change. You're getting older. You're about to be the person that's about to run the world, and we're going to have to figure this out. Like, and just like my boys, y'all going to college and we are going to do something. I teach them humanitarian, philanthropist. We go out, we feed the community, let them know if you do want to be a president, you can be a president. You want to be a mayor, you can be a mayor. Anything you want to do, you can do. And if you want to change the cops that's walking around, my son, be a cop. Be a change that you want to see in the community. You want to see nice cops? I want you, as bad as he don't like them, I tell her, I want you to be one so you can be a change. You can change the world. So it's not much that I can tell him, but I am happy that you did bring me on this conversation because it's crazy. It's crazy. I am happy that, but it's more to come.
Yeah.
It's more to come.
And I think, like, as us, as Black individuals, how many times our teenagers, our young men, or even us in our adult life as men have been stopped by the cop for no reason, just because you're in the wrong, or what they might call the wrong community, and being questioned as if you were a criminal and you're just probably going to visit a friend, or you're going to go see somebody that you know. So I think that, how can we make a change is my question today. We are on this, the six of us are here. How can we be that change? How can we be impactful? And how can we make sure that everybody with a voice is heard, and stuff like these situations are stopped, like George Floyd?
We have to have economic empowerment, like Ms. Davis said. We have. Hello?
Go ahead.
Y'all heard me?
Yeah.
We hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have to have an economic empowerment. Once we start, as Black people, we have over 1 billion spending power. We don't spend enough money and let it stay amongst ourselves in our community. Like she was saying earlier, she spoke on the Tulsa, Oklahoma situation in 1921. Once we get back to protecting and policing our own community and our own neighborhoods, and stop depending on outside people to have our best interests, I think we begin to unify and actually move out in a better manner, and as time go on, because we have to be mindful that, like the brother said earlier, if the cameras was not rolling, no telling what type of situation, we would never had justice for this brother. We got to think about the Eric Garners, the Trayvon Martins, the Tamir Rice, the Abelawinos, the Oscars, and all these different people that has justice has not been, served for these guys and females as well. And so we have to be, as Ms. Davis said as well, we have to start having doctors, lawyers, and things like that going to school. So when situations occur like this, we can be in position to have people that look like us to be in the courtroom to actually defend and prosecute and give the right decision at all times.
I don't know if I can jump in. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I just wanted to kind of jump in on what Wendell said, because I want to add a little bit of it to that. One of the things we also have to do is we as a people have to start displaying a different, look to ourselves as well. Now, I'm not saying that no one has to change this and that, or whatever. You have to look at how you display yourself to people. So if you standing around, and I'm just using this as an example, is not toward any one person. But if you stand around with your pants hanging down, smoking weed, or you go to an interview, you're a half hour late, you're weeded, you smell like weed, your hat on backwards, all of that. I'm not saying nothing wrong with your hat on backwards, but when you go somewhere, go correct. So you can get a job that's not just a service job. Because if you look at it, some people are still doing the slave jobs. Now, how are they doing the slave jobs? Because you're still serving people instead of being served. See, this is where we mess up. We still serving people. When are we to get served? You got to put yourself in that position. You want to be treated with respect, you got to carry yourself with respect. And you hear people now, listen, people might say, oh, Miss Davis, she's a little mature, so she feel this and that way. No, it's not that. When you think of it, okay, just think about it. If you refer to yourself as a B, okay, and a lot of women do, and somebody call you a B, you get mad. Well, how can you get mad when this is how you refer to yourself? You disrespecting yourself. You putting labels on yourself. We fought hard and long to get the word in, taken out of our vocabulary. But we call each other that. And then when somebody calls us that, we get mad. Well, I understand that it might have a different meaning to you when you say that to someone, but you have to understand from the outside, the world sees it as these people don't even respect themselves, so we don't have to respect them. So, it all starts with the person in the mirror. You need to turn whatever the negative that you have around. If you ain't doing nothing but sitting around smoking weed and drinking wine, if that's what you're doing, you need to look at that and say, what example or how can I be a help to my own community? And you got to start being that help instead of constantly looking for help. People with their hand out all over. Where's my stimulus check? Come on, go get a second job if you can, or save money so that you're not that desperate for the stimulus check. Sure, they're going to give it to you, but this way you're not desperate for it. You can hang on. And I know it was a long time, but that's just an example. Okay. What I am saying is you have to act the way you want to be treated. And until you do that, they're going to treat you the way you act.
Correct. Peter, you want to jump in, or Harry, and add anything?
All right, I just like to add, just following up from what Makita mentioned in terms of her insistence that her son have to go to college and so on. So we spoke earlier about change process, and it's really important that we have that sort of commitment and conviction to know that this is what has to be done to put us in certain position where we can be instrument of change. Um, as we mentioned before, we know this is not going to happen overnight, but then at the point where it need to happen, we have to have the right persons in the right place who can make those required changes. And it's going to take persons in all the different echelon and stratas, from those who are in politics in certain influential position. So I think that's one of the way in which we can assist, insisting and of course helping our own brothers and sisters so that they get the required education so that they can be instrument of change in the whole process.
Makita, anything you want to add?
No, it's nothing much. I just feel like we need to put more people in position to make the change. It's not gonna happen if we don't do it.
And I think like the one message that I'm hearing tonight is that we have to educate ourselves. We have to be more involved and get in higher positions where we can be the voice of authority.
Yeah.
And we have to share our knowledge with everybody that's going on so we could be more educated in the system and what it takes to make justice right. And I think tonight, when we say justice, we just say this is what is due to us, and this is only the starting process. And what is next is for us to actually see what if he's going to carry out the sentence or what's going to happen next for me, or what will happen with all the other cases where Black individuals was murdered by the police, because a lot of cases are still pending. So let's see what will happen with the other cases that to be tried. If we're gonna see the same justice served, or we're gonna see the same accountability being given, or are we gonna see the same as if we were the ones doing the shooting get corrected in the penal system? So guys, if do we have anything else that we would like to discuss amongst the panel?
Well,
I just want to say one last thing. My last thing is, don't look for the change, be the change. Okay? Be the change. You want to see something change, it starts with you.
Absolutely. Harry?
I just wanted to mention, so we had two other police officers who was with Derek, is it what's his name?
Varick, yeah. We had two others.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
two
hearing
other
anything
officers
about
who,
that, right?
and they will be actually be tried for aiding and abetting. So it will be interesting to see the verdict coming from that as well.
Yes,
Right? Let's not
absolutely.
forget that. Yeah. I agree, sir. I agree wholeheartedly with Sophia in terms of us being the change. You know, a lot of times we do not probably know that there are ways in which we can do this, right? And if you take it even from persons who were being served um, from the inner cities, minorities, there were a lot of health resources at some point which was available to them. And nobody actually knew of this in their community. How do you access this, right? And there were actually vacancies at the Department of Health where if you really showed an interest, you could actually sit on some of those councils and you could make a difference in how that is channeled to those inner cities. So I certainly agree, but it takes the will, and we have to do it. That's the whole point, because no one is going to do it for us, right? And it takes a sort of awakening, and it also takes education.
Exactly.
We have to come to the knowledge that be aware of what we can do that can make a change little by little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Wendell, anything to add before we leave?
Yes, we got to change. The only way that we have to change the narrative of everything to actually change complete. Like I said before, it has to be economics, has to stop with pooling the resources and connecting the dots, and actually, policing ourselves, and actually, education very key and vital into making this process a successful process in our community. And actually, you know, it starts with the youth and it goes all the way up. It's a chain reaction. And we have to be mindful of what's going on. Not only, you know, if our community is right now, Black males are endangered species. We have to be very careful in what we do, you know, this time here, because as I said earlier, and as history is on our side, and we have to be very mindful of things that's going on.
Absolutely. Makita?
Change the slave, get out the slave mindset. Like everybody said, be the change you want to see in the community. Do everything you can, educate those that do not know. I'm the type that I'm willing to learn. If I do not know, I'm willing to take everything in and just change, make a change. If you could teach somebody, teach them. I'm in the process of starting a nonprofit organization, helping teens that's troubled, especially my females. So I'm all about changing, especially where I came from, what I've seen, what's going on. Got to be a motivational bliss for somebody. We have to be a change. We have to. That's it.
And I must commend you on your community work. You've been doing a lot of community work. So thank you so much, Makita. Thank you so much.
All I can do. And thank you for acknowledging it. That's it. That's all I can do. And at times it's funny because at times I get mad because it is a lot of young females, and it's like they're so stuck. I'm happy that Ms. Davis mentioned the projects, and I didn't really know about it, so I have to do my research. See, I pulled out my pink book because I have to look it up, and they're in it and they're stuck in it. And it's like, you got to get out. Yeah, you getting your Section 8. Yeah, you're getting your voucher. Yeah, they helping you, but who want to stay at 20,000 cap a year with 2 kids, 3 kids? We have to do better. Like, I was never the type that want to be on food stamps or Section 8 or public assistance. I have 2 kids. I'm 28 years old, and it was all about the cap. In order for you to get food stamps, all I can make is $20,000, and they're happy. They're stuck. They're happy with that. They're happy with somebody paying their rent for the little, and it's like, we can't do this. So this is why I do what I do on People Do Care, and it's like, we can't be what they want us to be. We can't stay at that, because if we stay at that, they just gonna be above us, and they're gonna be looking down at us like you're nothing. So I'm happy this conversation was brought up today, and we just got to keep shining our light and letting them know that they cannot dim our color. Everything they stole from us and everything that they stole from us, I feel like we should take it back. And I said it right, take it black, because it's ours. We need to take it back. Our nose, our everything. We need to take it back. The time is now. And it can't stop. It can't just be, oh, we happy for George Floyd. That's it. We have to keep going. The same way we was giving the energy when we wanted the energy, we have to give the energy all the way until it's all completed. And that's that. And that is that. That's that.
So guys, thank you so much. Like I enjoy this topic, and I'm sure the viewers did enjoy the topic as well, because the verdict came out and this was something that happened last year and we were matching towards this. So thank you guys for taking busy schedules. Everybody have a busy schedule, and you guys took time out to be here with me tonight. So I greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much for joining me on this talk. And what we say, more to come, because we got to see progress, and we want to see what justice really looks like. Even though it's a celebration from yesterday, it's the beginning of the new now. And I think we have to be the change and be a part of that change and encourage that change. So guys, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate, and have an amazing night.
You do the same. Speak with all of you guys, hopefully. Good night.
Night. Thank you. Guys, there you have it. The discussion on George Floyd verdict and how we could be a change and make a change in society today. And thank you so much for joining me. Until next week, Wednesday, don't let the style wear you, you wear the style. It's the queen of style. Have a good one.